Good evening. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us to the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Badham Das. I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP Global Member. IGP is a social and ISO certified international training institute. In 3 years, we already served 3 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 250 plus profession and 4,500 plus organizations. The Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable. We serve students and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, and internationally to students, job seekers, job holders, and also for learners, the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human race. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar courses about tools, competition, mentoring, counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to reach more than 100 premier free service for free like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and wall knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge, which can upgrade all day. Kids learning game, free website, and many more. We help to empower you to learn to meet their expected dream and become highly skilled people. We implement several training program, webinar, and online offline courses for youth and learner by professional trained speaker and coaches. Our sessions are connected by globally renowned professionals to develop all kind of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities. To ensure excellent and independent session, we arrange with qualified trainer, speaker, and instructor. We extended free service to more than 3 million non-speakers in last year. We have affiliation with many college and organizations have been accomplished. We are constantly prepared to assist all knowledge seekers with valuable service. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that knowledge is love and light and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and will serve them with good research and practice methods. We must have a genuine concept for the learner we represent. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead this session with professionalism, passion, and integrity. IGP members are committed to offering effective best quality service and continuous improvement so that individuals who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before I move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,367 webinars successfully. Wow. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,368 webinars successfully. At present, we are going to start our 1,368 webinar, which name is Develop of Theoretical and Conceptual Framework for Research. And today our speaker's name is Arnel S. Miraflor EDD PhD. He is from Philippines. Before I hand over the stage to our speakers, I want to share a very little about him. Master Teacher 1, Don Brigado Mariflor in Brigade School, Doctor of Philosophy, Science, Education, Doctor of Education, Administration. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with his presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our IGP with his presentation. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. Thank you.
Sir, please present your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
in the below there is option you have to click on hide.
Okay, good evening to all. Before I start my topic, uh, I would like to thank the Institute of Global Philippines for giving opportunity to once again talk to internationally and share my knowledge and skills. Okay, my topic for tonight, is the development of theoretical and conceptual framework for research. So my topics are theoretical framework, how to write a theoretical framework, and also how to write a conceptual framework, especially for research. Now, let's start with the theory. So when we say theory, it is a plausible or scientifically acceptable general principle or body of principles offered to explain phenomena, and that is according to Merriam-Webster dictionary. So when we say theory, it is not yet proven. And this theory can be used in research, especially for theoretical framework. So as I continue, next is the research. So when we say research, it is the using the scientific method for careful consideration of study regarding a specific problem or concern. It is one of the building blocks of societal advancement, and it depends on many perspectives and phenomena to thrive. And it can come out with a valid argument of a summation. Now, especially on this current year, we have finished the seminar on the Fourth Industrial Revolution for Education, or PAR 4.0. So the research is very important, especially in PAR 4.0. Now, let's go to theoretical framework and research. So the role of the theoretical framework in research is to reduce the dreadful topic to two factors and to simplify the concept. This include the research problem and the rationale for investigating the issue. So that's why we should learn how to write the theoretical framework and research to simplify our research. Now, these are the importance of theoretical framework and research. So the theoretical framework is one of the main parts of the research manuscript. It should be presented in the first section of all dissertations or researches. So it is the structure that holds or supports a theory by introducing and describing it as to what research problem it exists. Now, in different colleges and universities, usually the theoretical framework can be found in chapter 1 of the thesis, especially for IMRAD format. But I don't I that is for other colleges and universities. But I think in other universities they also apply that. Now it also demonstrates an understanding of theories and concepts relevant to the topic of the research, and it provides the broader areas of knowledge under consideration. Also, the explicit statement of the theoretical assumptions enables each reader to evaluate it critically. Also, it connects the researcher to the existing knowledge to guidance by relevant theory, also by providing the basis of the hypothesis and the choices of the research methods. It also helps researchers to generalize the various aspects of an observed phenomenon from simply describing it, and also identifies their limits. Also, it specifies the key variables that influence a phenomenon of interest and highlights the necessity to examine them for what circumstances they might differ. Also, it limits the scope of the relevant data by focusing on a specific variable, and also defines the view of the researcher view the researcher should take in analyzing and interpreting the data to be collected. Additionally, by validating and challenging theoretical assumptions, it facilitates the understanding of the concepts and variables as per the given definitions and builds new knowledge. Also, it helps to address the questions of how and why by articulating the theoretical assumptions of our research. Now, to understand better, the theoretical framework is vital to all research to clarify that the implicit theory in a manner that is more clearly defined. It may also provide researchers to consider the limitations and alternative theories that challenge their perspective. It is what all academic supervisors check in the first place, and they better understand the research problem with the right theoretical framework. Now, based on my experience, the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework are the may, two of the most difficult part of the research. It's difficult to prepare or to write, so it is important to learn better in writing theoretical framework and conceptual framework. Now, when we say framework in research, is like in buildings or software providing critical support for developing the research aspects of it. Creating a framework on a theoretical basis will enhance investigations to arrive at a particular stand for or against a phenomenon. Now, these are the benefits of using a theoretical framework. So the purpose of a theoretical framework is to connect your new research to information already known and to provide readers with a clear explanation of your theoretical assumptions, and a broader generalization can be made. And also, a theoretical framework also helps structure complex scientific publications into an understandable format. Framework help you organize your thoughts and supporting evidence, and help other researchers understand and apply your ideas in related research. Now, how to write a theoretical framework? So, a theoretical frameworks again is an essential part of any research study or paper, and as it helps to provide a theoretical basis for the research and guide the analysis and interpretation of data. Here are some steps to help you write a theoretical framework. First is identify the key concepts and variables. So start by identifying the main concepts and variables that your research is exploring. So usually, the variables can be found in stem of the problem and also on the title of your research. This could include things like motivation, behavior, attitudes, or any other relevant concepts. Next, review relevant literature. Conduct a thorough review of the existing literature in your field to identify key theories and ideas that relate to your research. This will help you to understand the existing knowledge and theories that are relevant to your research and provide a basis for your theoretical framework. Based on my experiences and in writing researches, I spend nights 2 to 3 hours in downloading journals in using the Google Google Scholar, or using the Eric. Now, when you download a review of literature or different literature, you can use the Google and then save it on the Mendeley desktop. So so that you can have a library of your literature, and it can be used as database and integrate it into your install the Mendeley site in your Microsoft Office so that you can easily cite the different authors that you use in your related literature. Now, develop a conceptual framework. So, based on your literature review, develop a conceptual framework that outlines the key concepts and the relationships. This framework should provide a clear and concise overview of the theoretical perspective that underpins your research, which this conceptual framework will be discussed later. After that, identify hypotheses and research questions. So based on your conceptual framework, identify the hypotheses and research questions that you want to test or explore in your research. Next is test your theoretical framework. Once you have developed your theoretical framework, test it by applying it to your research data. This will help you to identify any gaps, research gaps, or weaknesses in your framework and refine it uh, as necessary. And also, you can ask your colleagues, your friends, or other researchers to help you in testing your theoretical framework. Then, write up your theoretical framework. Finally, write up your theoretical framework in a clear and concise manner, using appropriate terminology and referencing the relevant literature to support your arguments. So that is called citation and corroboration. Now, let's go now to conceptual framework. Now, what is a conceptual framework? So, a conceptual framework is a graphical representation of your conception ideas about the underlying structure or components of your research, as well as the interactions between these elements. It is a graphic or non-posed document, especially a diagram that depicts well-organized research items. A conceptual framework is an overview or comprehensive strategy that gives meaning to your research by providing a well-planned arrangement of the components of your investigation. So as I told you earlier, conceptual framework is one of the difficult, most difficult part of in writing research. Now, the conceptual framework is used to guide the researcher's understanding of what has already been done in the field of study and how their specific study will contribute to the current body of knowledge. It is a research map that provides direction to the researcher so that they can avoid inventing the wheel. Now, what are the objectives of the conceptual framework? So, the conceptual framework illustrates the organization, sequence, and purpose of your research. This is an important first step in your research because the block diagram, also discussed out loud, gives the reader a general understanding of your work, and it describes the research activities you want to undertake, how you plan to carry out these activities, and the knowledge you have to demonstrate, your expertise with your research topic or research challenge. In one study, it was also used to illustrate concepts and their relationships. So there are many different types of conceptual framework. But in different colleges and universities, mostly used are the IPO or the input process output and the IVDB or independent variable, dependent variable. Now, these are the steps in writing your conceptual framework. First is choose your theme. As a researcher, you have the opportunity to focus on a variety of topics. However, we must remember that not all the world's resources are at our disposal. The research may also be time limited. Therefore, it is important to choose a topic that can be completed within the time and resources available. Next is ask your research question. So usually, the content of your conceptual framework can be found in your stem of the problem. On the other hand, the research question should be focused on a narrow scope. All details should be presented in a clear and concise manner. Simply put, this is where your conceptual framework comes in. For your research, you need to ask a clear and logical questions. This question should be the one you really care about to have a concise conceptual framework. Now, next is perform a document review. A literature review is a process in which a researcher examines previously published work on a particular topic from reliable sources. So usually, when I do researches, especially when in my dissertations, I downloaded minimum of 50 and I have read 20 to 50 journals in one night during my dissertations. You and your readers will benefit from reviewing the material if it reveals the current state of knowledge on your chosen topic, including its strengths and weaknesses. When conducting a literature review, keep in mind that it should be relevant to the topic under study. Summarize the results of the publications you have read and identify areas where additional information or evidence is needed to substantiate your claim. So claims are under investigation. There is a literature review specifying what you will include in your conceptual framework. And by the way, I forgot. So so in literature, so you should replace your copied review of related literature. Replace, then there's different artificial intelligences or softwares that can be used in replacing. Then checking the grammar, and then checking the plagiarism of your chosen literature to avoid plagiarism. Next, number 4, choose your variables. Since you've done your research, especially chapter 1 and 2, you should now be able to identify and discover the variables that has been discussed in the publication you've studied, and try to link or decipher how they are associated. Since you've probably read a lot of literature, you'll find many possible variables to choose from as you conduct your research. Choose your relationships. Now that you have selected your variables, you need to decide how these variables relate to each other. Since you've read a lot of literature on your topic, you should define each of your variables is connected. This is especially important to keep in mind as it will have a big impact on your conceptual framework looks like once you start creating diagrams. Now, create a conceptual framework. Now you have completed all the previous steps. The last step is to illustrate the diagram. The way you prove the diagram will vary from case to case. However, variable names should be clearly defined and enclosed in rectangles. Variables should be connected by lines and arrows, and arrowheads should be different depending on the nature of the relationships. Now, these are the tips for writing a conceptual framework, especially in for those college students, senior high school students, especially for grade 12, and graduate students for masterate and doctorate degree. Familiarize yourself with the purpose of the conceptual framework. Create a conceptual framework based on your own knowledge of the components and their interrelationship. So ensure that everything in the conceptual framework is aligned with the stated objective of research. So I always tell to my tell to my students that the title of the research, statement of problem, conceptual frameworks, conceptual framework, methodology or research design, and questionnaire should be aligned with each other. So to have sound research. Next, share your conceptual framework with others to solicit feedback and development suggestions. So as I told earlier, so you can ask your colleagues, other researchers, or peers to check your research or conceptual framework and theoretical framework for suggestions and feedback. Because two heads, three heads, or more than two heads are better than one. Now, role of variables in conceptual framework. So let us define dependent variables. Let us review. So when we say independent variables, these are the variables that you believe will have an effect on the dependent variable. In other words, they are the variables that you are manipulating or testing. Now, for dependent variable, these are the variables that you believe will be affected by the independent variable. In other words, they are the variables that you are measuring. So again, the variables, independent variables are variables that you are manipulating or testing, while the dependent variables are the variables that you are measuring. And the third one is control variables. Control variables, these are the variables that you believe could potentially detect the dependent variable, but you are not manipulating or testing. You will need to control for these variables in your study so that you can be confident that any effects you observe are due to the independent variable. Now, let's go to for more learning. So let's have a conceptual framework examples. Now, sample number one, background. I am a co-owner of a bunch of yummy hot dog. So number one, choose your topic. I am interested to know what affects the satisfaction of our customers. My goal is to know what specific parts of our business can influence our customers' experience. So number two, make your research question. The research question I can formulate is, what affects customer satisfaction of yummy hot dog? So number three, proceed to number three, conduct a review of related literature. So I read up a different publications related to food establishment, specifically hot dog joints, and customer satisfaction. From here, I can already have an idea of the variables I can pinpoint from those publications that have been proven to affect customer satisfaction. Now, next is choose your variables. With all the books, scholar articles, and research I have gone through it, it can be determined that there are three main variables. First is the food taste, next is the speed of service, and third is the staff performance. Customers are very much concerned with the taste of the product. The amount of time it takes to serve them also affects how pleased or displeased they are. And lastly, the performance of the staff that serve also affects their experience. And proceed to number five, choose your relationship. I was able to determine that the three variables, the food taste, speed of service, and staff performance are determining factors of the customer satisfaction. Now, for your conceptual framework, this is the conceptual example of conceptual framework for the hot dog. For your satisfaction of customers. So we have the food taste, the service, speed of service, and the staff performance, which lead to customer satisfaction. So I think this is IBDV, independent variable and dependent variable. Now we have sample number two, research problem of topic, improving critical thinking through systemic functional grammar. So systemic functional grammar or SFG, it is a modern language theory that claims that man's critical thinking increases whenever he uses language for these reasons. First, for additional function or knowledge acquisition, and second, for interpersonal function or for creating human relationship. And third, for textual functions or strategic and coherent expression of ideas. In this case, the independent variables are the SFG components, the ideational, interpersonal, and textual functions. And the dependent variable is the individual's level of critical thinking. And the dependent variable is the individual's level of interpersonal, interpersonal. The conceptual foundation for ideas underpinning this investigation is shown. It is according to Ravitch and Regan 2012. So, the triangle, center triangle is the systemic functional grammar, which has four shape, three rectangles and one oval in lower part. So this is the conceptual framework for your involving critical thinking to systemic functional grammar. Now let's have a comparison between conceptual framework versus theoretical framework. Now when we say theoretical framework, a point of focus for attacking the unknown in a specific area. While when we say conceptual framework, these are concepts. The concepts are placed within a logical sequential design. Next, for theoretical framework, to explain the relationship of two or more variables, while conceptual framework is specific concepts and propositions derived from empirical observation. For theoretical framework, also test the theories and to stimulate research. For conceptual framework, to make research findings meaningful and generalization. Also, when we say theoretical framework, it establishes connection between observation and facts, while conceptual framework is to stimulate research and the extension of knowledge by providing both direction and inputs. And lastly, for theoretical framework, it derives from specific concept and propositions that are induced and deduced to encourage and for conceptual framework to encourage theory development that is useful to practice. So this is the comparison between theoretical framework and conceptual framework. Now, there are different types of conceptual frameworks. First one is the taxonomy framework. So a taxonomy framework is a framework that organizes ideas into categories, and this can be helpful when you are working with a large amount of data. As a conceptual framework, a taxonomy can help you identify the most important variables and relationships. This is the example of taxonomies proposed by Barrett 1968, the taxonomy of comprehension. So it is similar to Bloom's taxonomy. Next example is the conceptual model. So a conceptual model is a framework that shows the relationship between variables. So this can be helpful when you are trying to understand how different variables interact with each other. And as a conceptual framework, a conceptual model can help you understand the cause and effect of different variables. So this is an example, as I said earlier, the IPO or the input, process, and output. So it's called conceptual model. Next is the visual representation. A visual representation is a framework that shows the relationships between variables using a graph or a diagram. This can be helpful when you are trying to understand how different variables interact with each other. As a conceptual framework, a visual representation can help understand the cause and effect of different variables. So here it shows the relationship between the independent variable or the IB, the dependent variable, the DB, and the mediating variable, the MD. In this study, the IB is the teacher's use of Facebook, and the DB is the students' academic performance, and the MD is the students' engagement in class. Next is the mathematical description. So a mathematical description is a framework that uses equations to show the relationships between variables, and this can be helpful when you are trying to understand how different variables interact with each other. As a conceptual framework, a mathematical description can help you understand the cause and effect of different variables. So this is an example of mathematical description. Next, the working hypothesis. A working hypothesis is a proposed explanation for a phenomenon. This can be helpful when you are trying to understand how different variables interact with each other. As a conceptual framework, a working hypothesis can help you understand the cause and effect of different variables. So this is an example of working hypothesis. Next is the descriptive categories. So descriptive categories are a way of organizing data into groups. This can be helpful when you are working with large amount of data. As a conceptual framework, descriptive categories can help you identify the most important variables and relationship. So this is the example of descriptive category conceptual framework. Next is the practical type. So a practical type of conceptual framework is one that you can use to guide your research. This can be helpful when you are trying to understand how different variables interact with each other. As a concept framework, a practical type can help you understand the cause and effect also of different variables. So this is an example of practical type conceptual framework. Before I end my topic, so let me give you the quotes from Charles F. Kettering. According to him, research means that you don't know, but are willing to find out. So that's all for my topic. Thank you for listening. These are my references.
Thank you so much, sir, for your rich content presentation, which was in fact our knowledge seeker sharing. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and grow together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, dear sir,
Thank you, ma'am.
for your presentation. Now, sir, it's time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable sir, please stay with us. After a short video, we will be back in our session part, which is the question answer. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a written certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a written certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is here to reply your question.
RGP
We are
knowledge
requesting
seekers,
you
please
to
ask
ask
your
your
question
question
in
in
the
the
comment
comment
box.
box.
Our speaker is here to reply your question. RGP knowledge seekers, please ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is here to reply your question. RGP knowledge seekers, please ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker is here to reply your
I think after your wonderful presentation, our participants can understand the topic very clearly. So that's why no more questions from our participants. So once again, thank you so much, Honorable Sir, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topics. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable Sir, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new day. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you very much to ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Honorable Sir, before we move to the next webinar certification process, if you want to leave this studio, you can, sir.
Thank you very much.
Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for our webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular review. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for our webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular review. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Today, our some technical problem. We cannot provide our certificate code. We provide our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. Today, our some technical problem. We cannot share our certificate code. We share our certificate code in a short time. Thank you. IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for our online quiz session. the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Go to www.slide.com and find today's quiz or scan this QR code for direct join. Quiz code is Global IG. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. Please join in Slido with the code and the code is Global IGP. With 25 people, we are going to start our quiz session right now. Which comes first? Theoretical framework of conceptual paper. Option 2, conceptual. Option 2, theoretical. No. Option 2 is the right answer and 52% people are right here. The leaderboard, Carmela is holding the first position. Our second question is, theoretical framework is the foundation of a conceptual framework. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 is the right answer and 91% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Jenia is holding the first position. Our third question is, which of the theoretical conceptual framework of this study? Option 1, culturally responsible of predators. Option 2, effective maintain inequity theory. Option 2 is the right answer. 35% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Camilla is holding the first position. Our fourth question is a lifespan theoretical framework of motor development. Option 1, overturned Horngrass model. Option 2, triangulated Horngrass model. Option 2 is the right answer. 71% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Tonamisha is holding the first position. Our fifth question is theoretical conceptual framework is the last process of research. Maharashtra Tomar. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result and after that we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Profession. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result and after that we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Profession. Congratulations to our online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slido will take a few minutes for finalizing the result and after that we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on our official Facebook page and group in Institute of Global Professional. At the end of our session, we can say properly to the skill never stop learning cause life never stop teaching. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to a goal, not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the end like button, I again want to thank all IGP knowledge seekers for your active participation as always. See you again in the next session. Thank you.